had spent most of their sessions just sitting on Beck's couch, quiet, staring. Today was no different. "Do you want to talk?" Beck asked after a long silence. Graham shrugged. "What's the point?" he asked Beck. "What's the point of any of it?" "You don't think there's any point to living?" Graham shrugged again. He sat back, as he had in their other sessions, finished talking for the day. He seemed to think he could just wait Beck out. Beck decided he was done waiting. He reached into a bag at the side of his chair and pulled out a Glock 9mm. Graham was instantly alert. Beck placed the pistol on the table between them. "Okay," he said. "You really want to die? Pick up the gun. Get it over with." Graham stared at him, wide-eyed. "You're crazy." Beck shrugged. "I'm a licensed psychiatrist." "You're still crazy." Beck sighed deeply. "You don't want to do it yourself? Well, I'm here to help." Beck picked up the Glock and racked the slide back, jacking a shell into the chamber. He pointed it at Graham, his hand steady. "Now, do you want to die?" Beck asked, looking down the barrel at his patient. Graham was out of his chair in a split second. He knocked the gun aside and landed on Beck with his full weight, toppling the chair over. He and Beck struggled for a moment as Graham tried to get his hands on the gun. They rolled across the floor together. Graham came up on top, the Glock in one hand. He pointed it at Beck, kneeling on top of him. For a second, they were frozen like that. Then Beck looked up at Graham, bleeding from the corner of his mouth where a stray elbow had hit him. And he smiled. "You fought," he said, grinning. Graham looked confused, then angry. "Are you crazy?" he shouted. "Of course I fought you. You pointed a gun at me." He got off Beck and let him up, but didn't take the gun off him. Beck didn't seem at all worried. "Dummy bullets," Beck said. "Wouldn't fire even if I pulled the trigger." Graham eyed Beck suspiciously, then checked the Glock's clip. If anything, it made him even more angry. "I didn't know that," he shouted. Beck didn't stop smiling. "That's right, you didn't. And you fought me. For the first time since you walked into this office, you did something. You woke up," he said. "Looks like you're not quite ready to die after all." Graham stared at him, shocked. Beck stood up and straightened his clothes. He wiped the blood from his mouth with a tissue and then took his chair again. He gestured to the couch. Slowly, Graham set the gun and the clip back on the table. Then he sat down too. "Excellent," Beck said. "Shall we get started then?" Chapter 2. "You pulled a gun on him?" Dr. Susan Carpenter was, like Beck, a psychiatrist. She was highly trained, widely respected, and thoroughly professional. She'd seen a wide range of patients with deeply disturbing problems, ranging from trauma to schizophrenia to complete psychotic breaks with reality. There were people who came to her convinced that space lizards were about to take over the planet, and others who were certain that the contestants on Survivor were plotting against them. In other words, she'd heard a lot of crazy stuff without blinking. And still, she looked like she was on the verge of having Beck taken to a padded cell. "Dummy bullets," Beck said. "I couldn't have hurt him if I wanted to." "He didn't know that," Susan snapped at him. "Of course not. It would have defeated the purpose. He had to find a reason to live. I gave him one." Susan took a deep breath and got herself under control. "Or you could have broken his trust completely, or triggered a violent episode, or convinced him that he really ought to commit suicide. Did you ever think of that?" "Of course," Beck replied. "I decided to take the chance." "You risked your patient's life." "No. I judged him capable of pulling himself out of his depression given the right motivation. I looked at him.